the guardian of the tower. As you moved onward through the wizard's tower, the shadows seemed to stretch longer and the flickering candlelight danced like tiny spirits along the walls. Every step you took echoed softly in the silent corridors, a gentle reminder that this tower had been untouched by time, yet it hummed with the energy of centuries of magic. You could feel it in your bones, a quiet pulse, like the heartbeat of something ancient and alive. Ahead, the corridor split into two narrow passages, each twisting into darkness. The air was thick with the scent of aged parchment, herbs, and a faint trace of incense, as if the tower itself were exhaling its history. You paused for a moment, listening. Somewhere above, the distant clink of glass or metal rang out, almost like a warning. Then, a soft, melodic hum began to drift through the stone walls. It was mesmerizing, almost hypnotic, calling you forward. You rounded a corner and found yourself in a grand hall. It was enormous, the ceiling lost in shadows far above, and the walls lined with towering bookshelves filled with tomes of every size and age. At the center of the hall stood a figure unlike any you had ever seen. Draped in robes that shimmered like woven starlight, it was tall and imposing, yet its presence was calm, regal. This was the guardian of the tower, the protector of the wizard's secrets, whose eyes glowed faintly like molten gold. The guardian did not speak immediately. Instead, it studied you, tilting its head slightly, as if weighing your intentions. Its hands rested lightly on a staff carved from a single twisted branch, inlaid with tiny gems that pulsed with a gentle light. The aura around it was both comforting and unnerving, a reminder that the tower was alive, and it had eyes everywhere. Finally, the guardian spoke, its voice like wind whispering through the leaves of an ancient forest. "You have come far, Seeker," it said, "but the tower does not reveal its secrets to those who approach with mere curiosity. Tell me, why do you walk these halls? What is it that you seek?" You swallowed, heart beating quickly, yet a sense of calm settled over you. You spoke truthfully, telling the guardian about your discovery of the forgotten spell, the fragments of magic, and your desire to piece them together to understand the wizard's legacy. You explained your wish to protect the magic, to respect it, and to learn from it, rather than wield it recklessly. The guardian listened silently, its golden eyes never leaving yours. After a long pause, it lowered its staff and gestured toward the far end of the hall. Many come seeking power, yet few understand the responsibility it brings. The path you choose is one of patience, courage, and humility. To claim the wizard's magic, you must prove your heart is pure and your intentions just. Only then will the tower open itself fully to you. A doorway appeared where none had been before, shimmering like water under moonlight. It was an invitation, yet a test. The guardian's gaze followed you as you stepped closer. You could feel the weight of centuries pressing lightly on your shoulders. Every whisper of wind, every glint of light seemed to guide you forward. Before you entered, "Guard," the guardian's voice echoed once more. "Remember, Seeker, the tower watches, the tower waits. Trust not only in the spell, but in yourself. For the magic you seek is bound not only by words, but by the choices you make along the way." With a deep breath, you stepped through the shimmering doorway. The air shifted, filled with a gentle warmth, as if the tower itself were breathing around you. Ahead, new challenges and discoveries awaited, but you felt ready. The guardian had not only tested your resolve, but had also shown you the importance of courage, patience, and heart. The journey deeper into the wizard's tower continued. Each step, a whisper of ancient power, a promise of magic yet to unfold. And as you walked, the hum of the tower wrapped around you, a soft lullaby for your adventurous soul. Asterisk the chamber of glowing crystals as. You stepped through the shimmering doorway the guardian had revealed. A gentle warmth embraced you, as if the tower itself recognized your courage. The corridor beyond twisted and spiraled and soft. Sparkling motes of light floated in the air, moving like fireflies, illuminating the path ahead. Every step felt lighter, almost dreamlike, as if gravity itself had softened its hold. At the end of the corridor, you found a massive chamber, unlike anything you had seen before. The walls, floor, and even ceiling were covered in crystals, each glowing faintly in shades of blue, green, and violet. They pulsed gently, casting a soft, mesmerizing light that reflected endlessly across the chamber, making it seem as if you were standing within a galaxy of stars. The air was cooler here, crisp and refreshing, bearing the faint scent of lavender and rain-soaked stone. The moment you entered, the crystals reacted. Their gentle pulses quickened and a low, harmonious hum filled the room. It was not music, but a language of magic. You could feel the energy vibrating through your fingertips, your heartbeat, and even your thoughts. It was as if the chamber itself was alive, listening, testing, and acknowledging your presence. In the center of the chamber stood a pedestal carved from a single immense crystal. Upon it rested a small, glowing orb, floating slightly above the surface. It shimmered with a golden light, radiating warmth and curiosity. You knew without knowing why that this orb contained knowledge, perhaps even a fragment of the wizard's ancient magic. But as you reached for it, the crystals around the chamber shimmered brighter, forming delicate, intricate patterns across the walls. Shapes of mystical creatures, dragons, phoenixes, and ethereal beings danced in the reflections, moving as if alive. A soft voice echoed through the chamber, gentle and calming. Magic is not taken, seeker. Magic is understood, respected, and nurtured. To claim it, you must connect your heart to the energy around you. You closed your eyes and breathed deeply, letting the hum of the crystals flow through you. Slowly, you raised your hands, allowing the light to envelop your fingertips. The moment your fingers brushed the golden orb, images and visions filled your mind. You saw ancient rituals, spells written in floating symbols, and the wizard of the tower guiding students with kindness and patience. The knowledge was not overwhelming, but gentle, like a whisper shared between friends. Opening your eyes, the orb lowered slightly toward you, recognizing your respect and focus. It pulsed brighter, syncing with your heartbeat, and for a moment you felt connected to the very essence of the tower. You understood that this chamber was not just a room of crystals, but a reflection of the harmony between intention and magic. Only those with a pure heart and steady mind could draw from it without being overwhelmed. As you carefully held the orb, the chamber began to shimmer, and a small doorway appeared on the far side. The crystal's glow softened, the hum settling into a gentle lull, as if bidding you farewell. You knew the journey was far from over. This chamber had taught you something vital, that magic is patient, observant, and alive. It responds to kindness, focus, and heart, not greed or haste. With the orb safely in your hands, you stepped toward the new doorway, feeling a sense of wonder and responsibility. Ahead awaited more mysteries, more lessons, and deeper magic. And as you walked, the crystal's soft glow bathed your path, a gentle lullaby of light guiding your way further into the wizard's enchanted tower. The library of whispering tomes. As you left the chamber of glowing crystals behind, you felt a renewed sense of purpose. The orb in your hands pulsed gently, its warm light sinking with the beat of your heart. You knew the wizard's tower had much more to reveal. This was only the beginning. The soft hum of magic lingered in the air, like a song played just out of reach. You made your way down another corridor, one darker its walls lined with ancient wood and stone. The atmosphere was quiet, save for the occasional rustle of pages. There was something different here, something that beckoned you forward. As you walked, the light from the orb cast flickering shadows, illuminating intricate carvings in the walls that seemed to tell stories of old. At the end of the corridor, you came to a towering door, its surface covered in delicate engravings of symbols you didn't recognize. The door felt alive, as though it had been waiting for you. The moment you stepped forward, the engravings shimmered, responding to your presence. Slowly, the door creaked open, revealing an enormous room filled with towering bookshelves, each one packed with countless tomes and scrolls. The library of whispering tomes? This was no ordinary library. As you entered, a soft murmur filled the air, like the low whisper of voices. It was not the sound of wind or the rustle of paper. It was the books themselves, speaking in low tones. The moment you stepped deeper into the room, the voices grew clearer, like a symphony of ancient wisdom coming to life. "Welcome, traveler," one tome whispered, its pages fluttering as if it were stretching after a long rest. "You've come seeking knowledge." You've reached out tentatively, your fingers grazing the spine of a book that rested on a nearby shelf. The voice of the book spoke again, this time with a softer tone. "Do you seek the forgotten spells of the wizard? Or perhaps the lost histories of this tower?" You nodded, your heart racing with anticipation. This was the true library of the wizard, where not only knowledge, but magic itself was stored. The books here were alive, imbued with the very essence of the wizard's teachings, bound by centuries of magic. The whispering tomes were not mere stories written on paper. They were living spells that could guide, teach, and, if needed, test you. You pulled a book from one of the shelves, its leather cover warm beneath your fingers. As you opened it, the pages shimmered with faint light. The words seemed to rearrange themselves as you read them, as though the book was responding to your thoughts. It was as if the book knew exactly what you needed. "Beware the path of power," it whispered. "For knowledge, once unlocked, cannot be undone. The price of magic is balance. Do not seek to control, but to understand." The words swirled in your mind, leaving you with a sense of both awe and responsibility. The wizard's tower had not only shown you the path to magic, but it was also teaching you its weight. It was clear now that this place, this library, was not only a source of power, but also a reminder that knowledge must be handled with respect and wisdom. As you moved further into the library, you could feel the ancient magic in the air, the books pulsing with energy. Each one held a different story, a different lesson. You realized that you were no longer just a traveler seeking answers. You were now a part of this place, its history and its magic. The whispers from the tomes grew louder as you reached the center of the library. There you found a massive stone table, carved with symbols of the elements and constellations. It was surrounded by empty chairs, as if waiting for a scholar to sit and study. You placed the glowing orb upon the table, and as it did, the book seemed to react. The whispers faded, and the room fell into a peaceful silence. It was then that you understood. The orb, the books, the tower, they were all connected. This place was more than a library. It was the living essence of the wizard's knowledge, waiting for the right person to unlock its deepest secrets. And now, with the orb as your guide, you were ready to continue your journey as you stepped away from the table. The books seemed to settle as though the library was at peace. The whispers slowed, returning to their soft hum, and the light from the orb grew gentler. With a deep breath, you turned to leave the room. But you knew this was not the end of your path. The library had only given you a glimpse of its treasures. Ahead, the wizard's final secrets awaited, and you were one step closer to unlocking them. Asterisk. The new dawn. Embracing the wizard's legacy, The journey through the wizard's tower had been long, filled with both wonder and trials. You had uncovered secrets, touched ancient magic, and discovered a world that existed beyond the veil of ordinary life. The orb in your hand, now glowing with soft, steady light, was a symbol of the wisdom you had gathered. But more than that, it was a reminder that this journey was not just about learning magic. It was about understanding balance, responsibility, and the deep connection between all things as you walked deeper into the tower. Your footsteps echoed softly in the hallways, now more familiar, yet still full of mystery. The path had led you through many rooms, each filled with ancient knowledge. But now, you felt a subtle shift in the air. The tower seemed to hum with anticipation, as though it knew your journey was nearing its end. Ahead, you saw a soft glow, the light of dawn, filtering through a large arched window at the end of the hall. You approached slowly, your heart racing with a mixture of excitement and solemnity. The light of dawn was not only physical, but symbolic. The wizard's legacy, once a distant whisper, now felt like a tangible presence, a call to something greater. You had come here to learn, to grow, but now you understood. It was time to embrace what you had discovered. The wizard's teachings were not meant to be kept locked away in the tower. They were meant to be shared with the world. As you stepped closer to the window, the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, casting the room in a warm, golden glow. It was beautiful, almost overwhelming in its intensity. The landscape outside the tower was breathtaking, rolling hills covered in mist, rivers glistening in the morning light, and forests that stretched endlessly, alive with possibility. For the first time, you saw the land not as a distant backdrop, but as an integral part of the journey you had just completed. The wizard's legacy was not just about magic or power, it was about connection. The tower, the books, the orbs, and even the guardian, all were threads in the fabric of a greater story, one that was still unfolding. You felt that story in your heart, the weight of it guiding your next steps. Turning away from the window, you looked around the room. The tower seemed different now, less like an ancient fortress of secrets, and more like a living, breathing space that had guided you on your path. The books were no longer distant sources of knowledge. They were companions, offering guidance when needed. The chambers, the corridors, the very air, it was all connected. You, too, were now a part of that connection. The orb in your hand pulsed softly, its light syncing with your heartbeat. You had learned much, but you also understood now that learning was a never-ending process. The magic of the tower was not just about power, it was about growth, balance, and wisdom. You had uncovered only the beginning of what the wizard's teachings held. And as you stood there, a new sense of purpose settled over you. You were ready to take the next step, to leave the tower and carry the wisdom of the wizard out into the world. But before you could leave, a soft voice like a whisper, carried by the wind, echoed through the room. It was the voice of the wizard himself. "The journey you have begun does not end here," he said, his voice calm and knowing. "You are the keeper now. The legacy is yours to shape, to nurture. Remember, always, knowledge is not just for the seeking, but for the giving. Share what you have learned and protect what is most sacred." The words resonated within you, deepening your understanding. The wizard's legacy was not just about personal discovery. It was about responsibility. The magic you had uncovered was to be shared, protected, and passed on. Just as you had received it, with a final look at the tower, you stepped forward, your heart full of purpose and peace. The light from the orb shone brighter, casting a golden trail before you. The tower, its secrets, its wisdom, and its magic would always be a part of you. But now, it was time to step into the world. To carry the wizard's teachings forward, the sun rose higher, and the new day began, a new dawn for you, for the magic you had embraced, and for the legacy you would protect. As you walked down the winding path, the mist began to clear, revealing the vast, beautiful world waiting for you to make your mark. And so, the journey continued not just within the walls of the wizard's tower, but in the hearts and minds of those you would meet along the way. The magic was alive in you, and it was yours to share. The crystal garden. As you stepped away from the secret chamber, your mind was still buzzing with the pulse of energy from the glowing crystal. The library stretched before you, but there was a soft hum in the air, feeling of something drawing you further, beckoning you deeper into the tower. You followed the sensation, your steps light and eager, until you reached a large, arched door. It was made of glass, its surface etched with intricate patterns that seemed to shimmer in the candlelight. You pushed the door open. In the moment you stepped inside, a rush of cool air greeted you, carrying the scent of fresh earth and the faintest hint of something floral. The space before you was unlike anything you had seen in the tower before. It was a garden, but not just any ordinary garden. The ground was covered with crystals, large and small, clear and colored, each one glowing softly in the dim light. The crystal garden, as you soon realized, was a place of immense beauty and power. The plants that grew here were unlike any you had seen in the outside world. Some had glowing vines that twisted and curled around the crystal formations, while others bore delicate flowers that shimmered with their own light. The air was thick with magic, and as you walked through the garden, you could feel the gentle hum of energy beneath your feet. The crystals resonated with a power you couldn't fully comprehend, but you knew it was ancient and powerful. Each step you took seemed to awaken the garden even more. The crystals pulsed gently, their light shifting in color as if they were responding to your presence. Some crystals were as small as pebbles, their delicate glow soft and comforting, while others towered above you, large and imposing, casting long shadows over the garden floor. The plants themselves seemed to grow around the crystals, their roots intertwining with the stone, creating an intricate, glowing tapestry. In the center of the garden stood an immense crystal tree. Its trunk was made of a single, polished crystal, and its branches spread outward in a shimmering display of light. The leaves were delicate shards of crystal that sparkled in the dim light. As you approached the tree, you could feel the energy flowing from it, a deep, calming force that seemed to settle over you like a blanket. The tree was alive, not in the way a regular tree might be, but in its own mystical, crystalline way. It was both solid and shifting, as though it existed outside the constraints of time and space. A soft voice, warm and gentle, seemed to rise from the very air around you. "Welcome to the heart of the tower, traveler," it said, the sound resonating in your chest. "This garden holds the wisdom of the earth, the sky, and the stars. It is a place of balance, where the energies of the tower and the land meet." You looked around, searching for the source of the voice, but saw no one. It was as though the garden itself was speaking to you, its voice coming from the very crystals and plants that surrounded you. "This garden is ancient," the voice continued. "It was created by the wizard to connect the earth's energy with the magic of the tower. Each crystal, each plant, each pulse of light carries a story, a memory of the land's past, present, and future. You have come at the right time, traveler. The balance is shifting, and you are here to witness it." The air around you seemed to thrum with energy as you walked closer to the crystal tree. You could feel its pull, the deep connection between the garden and the wizard's magic. The tree, alive with energy, seemed to beckon you to touch it. Hesitantly, you reached out and placed your hand on the cool crystal trunk. A wave of warmth washed over you, and in that moment, you were flooded with visions. You saw images of the wizard, his past, his journeys, and the powerful magic he had wielded. You saw the land before it was shaped by the wizard's hands, the raw, untamed wilderness that had once existed in its place. And then you saw the future, a future that was still in the balance. The garden, the tower, and you all were connected in this vast web of magic and destiny. As the visions faded, you pulled your hand back, feeling both humbled and enlightened. The crystal tree had shared its knowledge with you, its energy now flowing through your veins. Like a secret the tower had entrusted to you alone, you stood in awe, gazing around the garden once more. The crystals glowed brighter now, the plants swaying in rhythm with the energy in the air. This was a place of deep magic, a place that held the wisdom of the ages. And you knew that your journey was just beginning. The garden had shown you the way forward, and the next chapter of your story was waiting to unfold. Asterisk, the forgotten spells. You moved deeper into the heart of the tower. A sense of purpose settled over you. The crystal garden had opened your eyes to the deeper magic within the tower. And now, you felt a strange pull guiding you toward the next part of your journey. The path ahead was unclear, but you knew that the wizard's legacy was alive in every corner of this ancient place. You walked through quiet corridors, passing more enchanted portraits that whispered forgotten secrets, and shelves filled with relics of magical history. Yet, there was one particular room that caught your attention. A small, dimly lit chamber at the end of a narrow passage. The door, carved with intricate runes, stood ajar, as if it were inviting you to enter. With a gentle push, you stepped inside, your eyes adjusting to the soft light that flickered from a single floating candle in the center of the room. The walls were lined with dusty scrolls, ancient tomes, and strange symbols. But at the far end of the room stood something different, a pedestal upon which rested an open book. The pages of the book shimmered with a faint glow, though they appeared old and worn. The title, written in elegant silver letters, read, "The Forgotten Spell." As you approached the pedestal, the air grew heavier with magic. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if it were waiting for you to make your choice. The forgotten spell, what could it be? Why had it been left untouched for so long? Your fingers hovered over the pages, and you felt the weight of history in every inch of the book. The wizard had written this spell himself, and yet it had been sealed away for reasons unknown. The magic it contained was ancient, perhaps even too powerful for the modern world. But something inside you stirred, a desire to uncover its secrets. To understand what the wizard had left behind, you turned the first page carefully, your eyes scanning the words. The text was old, its ink faded, but the magic was still palpable, lingering between the lines. It spoke of a spell of protection, one so powerful that it could shield the land from all harm, from both physical threats and unseen forces. Yet the spell was incomplete, its true power hidden in the words that had been lost to time. As you read further, the room seemed to grow colder, the air thickening around you. The more you uncovered, the more you realized the weight of what you held. This spell could change everything. It could protect the entire world, but it came with a price. Magic this powerful was never without consequence. To wield it was to take on the responsibility of not just yourself, but the land and the people who lived upon it. The last lines of the book were torn, the words missing. The spell's full form had been lost to time, leaving only fragments of power scattered throughout the tower, waiting to be pieced together. The incomplete nature of the spell made it dangerous. Its magic, volatile and unpredictable. The choice before you was clear. You could leave the book, its mysteries intact, or you could search for the missing pieces of the spell, risking the consequences in order to gain its full power. As you stood there, contemplating, you felt the presence of the wizard around you, his spirit lingering in the very walls of the tower. You knew that the decision was yours alone. The wizard had left this place, left you with the choice. And now you had to decide whether to seek the forgotten magic or walk away. The air shifted. You felt a soft whisper in the back of your mind. The tower itself seemed to hum, urging you to continue the search to bring the magic back to life. But at what cost? Would you be able to control the power that came with it? Could you unlock the spell without unleashing something you couldn't handle? The room grew still, as though waiting for your answer. You closed the book gently, the weight of its secrets pressing against your chest. The path forward would not be easy, but you felt a sense of destiny stirring within you. The wizard's legacy had already begun to shape your journey. As you left the room, the glow of the forgotten spell still lingered in your mind. The search for the missing pieces had only just begun. You knew that the magic of the wizard's tower had far more to offer, but at what cost would you claim it? The tower's whispers carried the answer. Only time would tell. The talking portraits the hallway seemed to stretch on forever, winding deeper into the heart of the tower. You could feel the weight of the place pressing around you. It's ancient and alive with secrets, but the air was still cool and quiet, save for the soft echo of your footsteps. The walls seemed to close in slightly, but there was something comforting in their presence, as though they too were watching over you, guiding you along the way as you walked. Your eyes began to take in the many portraits that hung upon the walls. They were beautiful works of art, each one depicting a figure in flowing robes. Their faces serene, yet powerful. Some were familiar with kind, wise eyes, while others seemed more mysterious, their features obscured by shadows. The frames themselves were carved with intricate designs, swirling vines and symbols you didn't recognize yet felt somehow familiar at first. You assumed they were just pieces of decoration, part of the tower's many wonders. But as you moved closer to one of the portraits, you felt something shift. The air around you grew warmer, and the eyes of the figure seemed to glimmer, almost as though they were alive. For a moment, you froze, unsure of what you were seeing. Then, to your amazement, the figure in the painting spoke. "Welcome, traveler," the figure said in a soft, melodic voice. His face, painted with a calm expression, now held a spark of life. "I have waited long for someone to enter this place." You took a small step back, both in awe and wonder. The portrait didn't move, yet its voice echoed through the corridor. The figure's eyes remained fixed on you, now full of knowledge, warmth, and something else, something deeper. It was as though he had been waiting for you, as if he had known you would come. Who? "Are you?" you asked, your voice barely above a whisper. "I am Eldrin, keeper of forgotten knowledge," the portrait replied, his voice as smooth as the wind rustling through trees. "I have been here for many years, watching over those who come seeking what the tower holds." "How? How can you speak?" you stammered, still in disbelief. Eldrin's smile was gentle, his eyes twinkling with ancient wisdom. "Ah, the tower has its own magic, traveler. Here, nothing is quite as it seems. The paintings, the walls, even the air. They are alive with the essence of those who have walked this path before you. The wizard's power has kept this place in balance, and as I stand here, my essence lingers. I can guide you if you wish." You nodded, curiosity bubbling inside you. "Guide me?" "Yes," Eldrin replied. "The wizard's tower is not just a structure. It is a place of learning, of power, and of mystery. It holds within it the knowledge of ages, magic, secrets of the land, forgotten truths, but only those with the heart to seek it can unlock its power. Your path has already begun, but it is still unclear." The walls seemed to hum with life, as if Eldrin's words had set something in motion. He continued, his voice calm yet filled with a quiet urgency. "There are many more of us here, portraits of those who served the wizard, those who walked this tower before you. We were once part of his life, his family. Now we remain to help those who seek the truth of this place." You glanced around, noting that the other portraits on the walls had shifted subtly. Their eyes seemed to follow you, their faces now slightly more alive, as if the entire hallway was filled with the lingering spirits of the past. It was both a comforting and unnerving sensation, the feeling that you were not alone, that the tower had witnessed countless journeys just like yours. "Do not be afraid." Eldrin's voice broke through your thoughts, for you are in a place of learning. "But be careful, for the deeper you go, the more you will uncover. Some knowledge can change the course of your life. The wizard's tower is not without its challenges." You nodded slowly, the weight of his words sinking in. This journey was no longer about just discovering magic or secrets. It was about something much deeper: understanding, connection, and perhaps a transformation. "Thank you," you said softly, feeling a strange sense of gratitude toward the portrait. "You are welcome," Eldrin replied. "I will be here should you need guidance. The tower will test you, but remember this: always follow the path of your heart. The wisdom you seek is not hidden in the books alone, but within you as well." As you stepped away from the portrait, the warmth of its gaze lingered with you. The tower, with all its mysteries, was not just a place to explore, it was a living entity, full of stories, spirits, and wisdom waiting to be uncovered. You moved forward, the path ahead uncertain, but with a newfound sense of purpose. The wizard's tower had begun to reveal itself. One step at a time, asterisk the library of spells, the hallway stretched on, narrowing and twisting until you reached a grand arched door. It stood at the end of the corridor, ancient and imposing, but there was no fear in your heart, only curiosity and awe. Above the door, shimmering letters floated like fireflies, glowing softly in shades of gold and silver. They read, "The Library of Spells." You stepped forward, feeling a strange warmth as you reached out to open the door. The wood was smooth, polished by the touch of many hands. Yet it felt ancient, as though it had been waiting for centuries for someone like you. The door creaked open, and a soft breeze swept out, carrying with it the faint scent of parchment, herbs, and something indescribably old. Inside, the room was vast, larger than you could have imagined, stretching endlessly in all directions. The walls were lined with shelves that seemed to go on forever, each filled with books, scrolls, and ancient tomes. Some were worn and tattered, their pages yellowed with age, while others glowed softly as if they had just been written. The room was quiet, save for the soft rustling of pages, as though the very books were alive, waiting for you to discover their secrets. In the center of the room, a large wooden desk stood, its surface cluttered with open books, quills, and inkpots. Beside it, a small staircase spiraled upward to a second level, where more shelves awaited, stacked high with ancient knowledge. Floating candles lit the room, their flickering light casting shadows across the shelves and creating a warm, inviting glow. You walked deeper into the room, your footsteps echoing softly on the stone floor. The magic in the air was thick. It hummed with power, ancient and vast. Each step you took seemed to make the air around you shimmer with possibilities. It was as if the room itself was alive, responding to your presence, guiding you toward the knowledge you sought. As you passed the first row of shelves, you reached out and pulled a book from its place. The cover was soft, almost like velvet, with gold lettering embossed upon it. "The Art of Elemental Magic," it read. You opened the book carefully, and as you did, the words on the pages seemed to glow and shift, almost as if they were waiting for you to read them. The pages were filled with instructions on controlling the elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Each chapter offered step-by-step guidance, but it was clear that this was no ordinary book. This was a living, breathing guide, written in a language that connected with something deep within you. You closed the book gently and placed it back on the shelf, your heart racing with excitement. This was just one of many secrets hidden within these walls. As you continued to explore the library, you discovered books on healing spells, protection charms, ancient rituals, and even spells of transformation. Each book held a different story, a different piece of the wizard's knowledge. And you could feel the weight of it all, knowledge so powerful, it had been kept hidden for centuries. In the far corner of the room, you noticed a small door hidden behind a curtain of ivy. It was almost imperceptible, blending in with the surroundings. But your instinct told you that this door held something important. Without hesitation, you made your way toward it, feeling the magic in the air thicken as you approached. You reached out and turned the brass handle. The door swung open with a soft creak. Beyond the door lay a secret chamber, filled with ancient scrolls and mystical artifacts. In the center of the room, there was a stone pedestal, upon which rested a glowing crystal. The crystal hummed with power, casting an ethereal light across the room. As you stepped closer, you could feel the pulse of magic emanating from it. And without a word, you knew this was the heart of the wizard's power. You reached out and touched the crystal gently. The moment your fingers brushed its surface, a wave of energy washed over you. Visions flashed before your eyes, glimpses of ancient battles, powerful spells, and the wizard himself, standing in the midst of it all. For a moment, you were one with the crystal, connected to all the knowledge of the tower, the wizard, and the land itself. Withdrawing your hand, you stepped back, feeling the weight of the experience settle into your soul. You had touched the heart of the tower, and you knew that this was only the beginning. The wizard's knowledge was vast, but so too were the mysteries that lay ahead. As you turned to leave the chamber, the crystal's glow dimmed, as if acknowledging your presence and granting you the wisdom to continue. You walked back into the library, feeling both lighter and more powerful than before. Ready to uncover the next chapter of your journey? There was a place, far from the bustling villages and far from the comfort of the familiar world, where the land met the sky in a soft swirling fog. It was a place few dared to visit, the tower in the mist. The tower stood atop a hill, ancient and quiet, its stone walls draped in layers of mist that seemed to grow thicker with each passing day. It was a place of mystery, a place where time itself seemed to move differently, as though the tower was suspended between two worlds in the nearby village. The elders often spoke of the tower in hushed tones. They told stories of a wizard who once lived there, a wise and powerful figure who kept the land safe from threats beyond understanding. But those stories were growing old, and the mist surrounding the tower had only grown denser with the years. Most villagers dismissed the tales as legend lost in the fog of time. Yet, there were a few who still believed. A few who felt the pull of the magic that lay hidden in that misty hill. It was on one such quiet evening, as the sun dipped low and the first stars began to twinkle in the sky, that you found yourself standing at the edge of the village. The air was cool, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. The mist curled and swirled in the distance, as though beckoning you. No one had spoken of the tower for many years, but somehow you knew tonight was different. Tonight, something was calling you to step beyond the village, beyond the familiar paths, and into the unknown. The mist moved strangely, swirling as though it had a mind of its own. For a moment, you hesitated. You had heard stories of those who entered the mist and never returned, of whispers that floated in the air, and of the tower's unseen power. But there was something irresistible about it, a pull in your chest that you could not explain. With a deep breath, you stepped forward, your footsteps soft on the earth, and made your way toward the hill. As you climbed, the mist thickened, wrapping around you like a cool, ethereal blanket. The air grew still, and the sounds of the world outside seemed to fade away. The only noise was the soft rustle of leaves beneath your feet and the distant hoot of an owl. You walked in silence, your heart beating in time with the pulse of the land. Drawn by the ancient energy that hummed in the mist, the tower came into view slowly, its silhouette emerging from the fog like a dream. Its stone walls were weathered, covered in ivy and moss, but there was a timeless beauty in its structure. The high tower seemed to stretch into the sky, its pointed spire disappearing into the mist above. A narrow path wound its way up to the base of the tower, where the door stood, old and wooden. With intricate carvings of stars and moons etched into its surface, you paused before the door, feeling a strange warmth from within. It was as though the tower itself was waiting for you. There was no lock, no barrier. The door stood open, inviting you in. Slowly, almost as though the tower had pulled you forward, stepped inside. The air within was different, cooler, yet filled with the scent of old books and the faintest trace of incense. The stone walls were lined with shelves of ancient tomes, their spines covered in dust but glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. Strange symbols danced across the walls, shifting as though they had a life of their own. Floating candles lit the way, their flames flickering in perfect rhythm. For a moment, stood in awe, taking in the vastness of the tower. It was more than just a building. It was a place of magic, a living, breathing space where time itself seemed to bend. And as you stepped deeper into the tower, you knew one thing for certain. The journey had only just begun. The wizard's tower in the mist had welcomed you, and you were about to uncover the mysteries hidden within. Asterisk the enchanted door as you stepped deeper into the tower. The air grew even cooler, filled with the soft whispers of an ancient magic. The stone beneath your feet felt warm, as though it had absorbed the life of centuries. You moved carefully, each step guided by the flickering light of the floating candles, their flames casting long, dancing shadows across the walls. The tower seemed to pulse with energy, as though it were alive and aware of your presence. The shelves around you were filled with books, scrolls, and relics of forgotten knowledge. Some were covered in dust, while others shimmered with a faint glow, as if they contained secrets only the tower itself could understand. You could feel the weight of centuries pressing gently upon you. The feeling that you were walking in the footsteps of someone much older than yourself. But it wasn't the books that caught your attention, it was something else. At the far end of the chamber, half hidden by shadows, stood a door. It was unlike any door you had ever seen. The wood was dark, almost black, yet it gleamed as though polished by centuries of care. Intricate carvings of vines and symbols wove across its surface, swirling in patterns that seemed to shift with your gaze. The door was not merely a passage, it was a puzzle, a riddle waiting to be solved. You approached the door slowly, feeling an unexplainable pull in your chest. There was something about it that felt both familiar and foreign, as though you had seen this door before in a dream. The air around it shimmered, and as you reached out to touch the handle, a soft voice seemed to echo in your mind, as if the door itself was speaking to you. Only those with a pure heart may pass. Only those who seek not to take, but to give. You froze for a moment, your fingers brushing the cool wood of the door. The voice was gentle but firm, its meaning clear. It wasn't just about entering the next room, it was about something deeper. The tower wasn't just allowing you to enter, it was testing you. The very magic that had called you here wanted to see your intentions. Taking a deep breath, you closed your eyes for a moment, grounding yourself. The tower was not a place to be entered lightly. It was a living being, a space of ancient wisdom, and its door was a guardian of its secrets. The magic was ancient. and it would not allow those who sought only power or knowledge for selfish gain. You thought back to the journey that had brought you here, the curiosity, the sense of wonder, and the deep desire to learn, to understand. You would not come for riches or fame. You would come because something had called you here, a pull from the heart of the mist itself. When you opened your eyes, you placed your hand gently on the door. The carvings shimmered with life, and for a moment, you could feel the pulse of the tower, as if it was waiting for your decision. Slowly, carefully, you spoke, your voice soft but steady. I seek knowledge, not for myself alone, but to protect and share it with others. I seek understanding, not power. As the words left your lips, the door began to hum softly. The carvings swirled and shifted, glowing brighter. The faint sound of wind, like the softest breath, stirred the air around you. For a moment, everything seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Then, with a soft click, the door slowly creaked open, revealing the next passage. You stepped forward, heart racing with excitement and awe. The tower had accepted you, and you had passed the first test. What lay beyond that door was unknown, but you knew that you were about to embark on a journey unlike any other. The hallway beyond was narrow, winding like a maze, its walls lined with more ancient relics crystals that seemed to glow with inner light. Strange devices that hummed with magic, and paintings that seemed to change depending on where you stood. You could sense the presence of the wizard himself, as though his spirit still lingered in the walls, watching, guiding, as you moved deeper into the tower. The door closed softly behind you, its carvings fading back into the wood, but its promise remained. The path ahead would not be easy, but you had passed the first challenge. The wizard's tower, with all its mysteries and magic, had accepted you. And now, there was no turning back.